Republicans in the House Judiciary Committee say the FBI is targeting parents who speak out against school boards. Lawmakers released an email yesterday from an apparent whistleblower, which alleges the Department of Justice is using counterterrorism measures against parents, contradicting last month's testimony by Attorney General Merrick Garland. And joining us now to talk more about this is Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of Real Clear Politics. Tom, welcome back. Always great to see you. So, Tom, what more do we know about these alleged counterterrorism tactics against parents and AG Garland's involvement?
Well, as you mentioned, the House Judiciary released this email from a whistleblower. This email went out the day before Merrick Garland testified, so October 20th, and it was from the counterterrorism, on behalf of the Counterterrorism and Criminal Division of the FBI, and which is something that Merrick Garland testified that no counterterrorism resources or tools were being used to support the order he gave to the FBI to track threats against school board members and the like. And so it appears as if he either wasn't aware of what was going on, or he was, and he misled Congress. And so we'll get to the bottom of this. But basically, what it comes down to is this order went out to the FBI. They were using what's called a threat tag to try and coordinate information across the country, across all these different jurisdictions, about it to get a scope of the threat. But again, it did include the Counterterrorism Division of the FBI, which is something he said they were not doing. Yeah,
Tom, it sounds all kind of sinister, but what do you think this all signals, and how concerned should we all be?
Well, I think it signals the fact that the FBI was, in fact, that directive that went out, even though Merrick Garland tried to play it down in his testimony, I think it actually probably was more invasive than it was initially portrayed to be. Now, remember, this took place in coordination with an interest group that pressed with the White House that gave this directive to the FBI, or asked them to take it under advisement. They turned around and issued this order. And so it looks like this might have been more coordinated of an effort than was first reported.
Yeah, and hopefully we will get to the bottom of all that. I'm going to switch gears here slightly. Earlier, we reported that OSHA will stop enforcing the Biden administration's vaccine mandates, at least for now. Tom, how significant do you think this is, and how do you think this will all play out?
So I do think this is significant. Obviously, January 4th is when the order was supposed to go into effect, but we had about 36 court cases that were spread out over all 12 jurisdictions. Those have been consolidated in the Sixth Circuit now, and they upheld the stay that was issued by the Fifth Circuit. So I think this is a real blow to the vaccine mandate from a legal perspective. We've already seen pushback across the country by various employers and employees and members of police and firefighters and the like. And so this just adds to the woes of the Biden administration's effort to push through this vaccine mandate. OSHA says they're confident it'll be upheld, but it looks like the mandate might be headed for the dustbin.
Yeah, I want to turn now to Capitol Hill. There have been a number of legislators announcing their retirements recently, including Democrat Senator Patrick Leahy, Vermont and California Representative Jackie Speier just this week. Additionally, a Democratic state rep in Texas announced that he's switching parties and becoming a Republican. What's your take on this? What do you think is happening here?
Well, typically, we do see, particularly when the party in power is headed toward their first midterm, we see a wave of retirements when folks who've been in Congress either for a long time or who are in marginal districts can sort of read the writing on the wall. And that's what we're seeing right now from Democrats. I think the more interesting thing is the one that you mentioned, and this went largely unreported by a lot of folks, is that we had a Democrat in South Texas in the Rio Grande Valley switch parties. This is a place where President Trump won counties that hadn't been won since the Reconstruction era, that have long voted Democratic, and he scored big gains with Hispanic voters in particular down in the border region. And that, to me, is real trouble for the Democrats. And I think they need to pay real attention to that, because without winning, a large share of the Hispanic vote, they will be in real trouble in all sorts of places around the country next November.
And Tom, before we wrap up, we don't have a whole lot of time. I want to ask you this and get your take on it. There's reports that there's tension in the White House between President Biden and his people and Vice President Harris and her camp, although Press Secretary Jen Psaki kind of refuted those claims. Do you think there's anything more to this, or do you think maybe it's just rumors and someone trying to stir the pot, so to speak?
Well, look, this team has been in office less than a year, and already the story that came out by CNN earlier this week was based on interviews with a bunch of folks in Kamala Harris's camp, and also interviews from folks inside Biden's camp in the White House. And so this is clearly not being conjured up out of thin air. There's real dysfunction. There's real tension between the president and the vice president, and how they view each other and how they view the future of the party, who's going to lead the party. And so this is, again, unprecedented to happen this early, to see people jockeying for position for the next presidential race and who might eventually be the leader of the party. So again, not a good sign for Democrats that this is taking place this early in the administration.
Okay, got to leave it right there. Tom, thank you so much. Always great to get your analysis.
Thanks.